Welcome, everyone. I am your host, Lexx Black. You're tuning into my show, Midnight Arcade. This is a special series on my channel. It's called Midnight Music, and I am very, very excited to be presenting this to you. Here we have one of my childhood friends from way back in the day, my homie Jay Grizzle. Now, listen, y'all. I need y'all to listen very closely. We are from the era in hip-hop when MCs were obligated to tell you their stories, write their rhymes from their perspective and theirs alone. We are from the same era where authenticity isn't some additional accessory, but it's the main feature of artistry, right? We're also from the same era where regional sound played a pivotal role in diversifying the soundscape of hip-hop in general, helping it to develop into the landscape that it is that we see today. We are from the era where if there's beef in rap, they go to the booth immediately and try to bar your head off. Okay? We are also, conversely, from the era of the internet and all the wild, imaginative, and lightning fast evolution of sound, music, and technology that we live in and how it evolves every single day. Now, before I say anything else, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell icon to be notified whenever I drop that new heat. You heard? Yes, sir. Now, on to the main subject at hand. This battle is a culmination of many of the things that I've been speaking about on different think spaces that were brought into focus and then some. This epic battle between one Kendrick Lamar and one Drake represented a battle on many different fronts. It was a battle of culture versus corporation, humility versus hubris, and one artist whose work is much more like that of a novel versus one whose work is kind of like a picture book. Okay. So we have novel versus picture book, humility versus hubris, culture versus corporation. Right? And for those of you who are mad at that statement, if the shoe fits, wear it, nigga. Straight up. All right. So, again, this is episode 1 of Midnight Music, and we are going to be discussing the epic battle between Kendrick and Drake. Now, with all that shit out of the way, I wanted to break this down into a few sections. You know, we're going to cover the battle, the beef, the music, whatever have you, everything leading up into it. We're going to check the character of each gentleman. Where did the losing party go wrong? Where do both artists go from here? So on and so forth. So, without further ado, Jay Grizzle, what's good, my guy? What's good?
How you doing, man? And how you doing, channel? Hopefully everybody is doing great out there, and hopefully you're hitting the subscribe button as you're tuning in and as you're getting your listening needs. But we got a great show for you here tonight, and I really do appreciate one of my brothers and good friends from, like he said, childhood, Chad, for having me on the show. Yes, and it's really something that's I've been looking forward to doing, and something that I really appreciate you for having the channel and having the stage and platform for it to be done. So let's go.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, bro. And I know it's guys, for everyone viewing, eventually me and Jay were talking off mic, and I'm gonna get a setup where we can do this live and direct in person, man. But you know, we make do with the tools we have at our disposal. But without further ado, this beef did not start back in March. It started in 2013 with a verse called, with a verse on Big Sean's record, Control, for the uninitiated, where Mr. Kendrick Lamar Duckworth took it upon himself to boldly proclaim that he got love for you niggas, but I'm trying to murder you niggas. Make sure your fan base never heard of you niggas. All of that. And he mentioned a plethora of MCs who were hot at the time. Big Sean, Jay Electronica, Mac Miller, ASAP Rocky, etc. But especially Drake, right? Pusha T, all these guys, right? Almost every, there are three that took it a little bit of a different way. Everybody else is like, oh, word, respect. Because what that was an acknowledgement of, that was Kendrick saying, I love y'all. I respect your work, and I respect you so much that I want to compete with you, because hip hop is a sport at the end of the day. It's about competition, about who the best MC is. Kendrick really embodied that in that verse. So most of the MCs responded in kind, saying, I bet, I appreciate it, or they got in the booth and they competed, right? Absolutely. With the exception of 3. Jay Electronica acted a little funny, but then he came out and apologized after. Big Sean and Kendrick had a little bit of a cold war, but even Big Sean ain't take it all the way to heart like the third entry in this situation, which was one Aubrey Drake Graham. He went on a whole tirade, talking on interview after interview, talking about, oh, nobody even knows how the verse starting. Oh, those words were kind of harsh, and da 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 da, and so on and so forth. And that's why Kendrick responded with, and nothing was the same since they dropped Control and tucked the sensitive rapper back in his pajama clothes. Because that's exactly what happened. Everybody else took it like, I bet I'm gonna compete in this sorry ass over here. If you guys didn't realize it by now, I'm kind of anti-Drake. For good reason, though. And I'm gonna get to...
Tell them why you're mad, see?
Here's the thing. Drake bothers me for a lot of reasons. And for the longest time, I couldn't put a finger on it. But one of the biggest reasons why I don't like him isn't because I don't enjoy a lot of his music. Because the truth is, I do enjoy a lot of his music. I really do. My favorite iteration of Drake, to be fair, is from 2009 to 2015. I love that version of Drake. That's my favorite iteration of Drake. But then he started being the gun-toting, tough-talking, greasy, mob ties nigga. I like Drake with the melodies. I don't like Drake when he act tough. I really don't. And what bothers me, the word that I couldn't, it's a simple word that I knew of, but I didn't really put it with him until this battle that really brought it to the forefront. He's inauthentic. Utterly inauthentic. And that's what I'm like, wow, that's really what it is. That's why I can never really fully like be sold on him like a K-Dot, whom you could tell he's from the element, he's from that cloth, he's from a legitimate area, and he embodies that in his music, and you could tell he's authentic. But it all started with Control. Fast forward 10 years, and here we are, 11 years technically.
Well, for those of you that don't know, just as a refresher, as we're on the topic of the Drake, Kendrick, Lamar beef and what's exactly going on in the hip hop world, on this channel, most of you know C as my friend. If you've seen any episodes with me and him before, we grew up together, playing sports together, coming straight out the sandbox together, and just being young. But what some of you may not know is C is also an artist. So his acumen when it comes to, speaking on what's going on in the hip hop world, for those who know him, we know exactly where he's coming from. And I think if you're looking at it from a worldly view, you could have kind of seen this coming. There's only so long, especially where we live here in America and how we are globally, where you can be on top. It's only for so long before people start coming at your crown. Yes. And see, I don't know if you agree with this because you took it all the way back to 2013, but in 2023, J. Cole, I feel like maybe not an instigator, but reignited the beef on first person shooter.
Absolutely.
So, and he left it there for Kendrick to kind of be like, wait a minute, who? The big what?
Listen, Kendrick is the kind of guy, right, where, because we're looking back on it in retrospect, this beef was fascinating because like, as we pointed out in the beginning, this started back in 2013, but it really culminated in that tipping point, like you said, with first person shooter. But then when you look back at all the work, all of the records, now Drake and Kendrick have been subbing each other forever, but there's even more music if you listen to Kendrick's catalog where the verses can apply to Drake. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, damn, he a lot of people call him Kung Fu Kenny. He called himself Kung Fu Kenny, right? After this beef, he has graduated to Sun Tzu Kenny because he truly has shown that he has mastered the art of war. And one of the pieces that he's really shown was patience, absolute deadly patience in waiting for this man. And he was baiting him and waiting for the absolute opportune time to take this guy down, because Drake did have the machine behind him. He has the numbers, so on and so forth. But kind of going off on a tangent a little bit.
No,
we'll get back to the. We're gonna get back to
because at the end of the day, it's just like how you said. There's a timeline with all of this leading up to exactly what you're talking about right now.
Yes. And the funny thing is, we're going to get to the J. Cole point too, in his bow out, and how he actually looked really smart in retrospect with all this. But like Drake and all of his beefs, he beefed with cats who weren't nearly as monetarily successful as him, or as successful as him from a record sales standpoint. And that's a metric that a lot of these idiot fans, these stans, live by today, by their favorite, right? They don't go by the quality of the work, the impact. I say a lot of time when I'm talking about manga and stuff like that, anime, when I say you can maybe imitate a series, but you can't imitate impact. You can't copy impact. It's different. Impact is impact, and it's unique, right? So you look at someone like Drake going against Meek Mill, he's punching down. You look at someone like Drake versus Common. Even though Common is an elite MC, he doesn't have the standing of popularity that Drake does. So he's punching down. You see Drake.
Can you speak on that a little bit more, C?
Sure, for sure.
Common versus Drake beef, because I don't think that was really, talked about as much as it should have been.
Absolutely.
Because I thought that coming into the game, Drake looked up to Common.
Definitely.
So I understand where that came from.
Women, and this is
Serena?
Dog. This is Common will say in interviews, and this is where I'm gonna shoot Drake a little bit of bail. Right? Common in interviews is heard saying multiple times that, he heard Drake subbing him on some records and so on and so forth. And I'm like, all right, cool. But to your question, why was Common feeling like Drake was subbing him? Well, Common had a thing with Serena. Excuse me. And then Drake had a thing with Serena. What is the common denominator? Women. I'm not saying it's Serena's fault. Drake has a propensity, and we're going to see it's a perpetual pattern that has led him to his downfall here. He has a propensity for involving the women of his enemy, right? He does it all the fucking time. And in beef, anybody who's from around the way, or has even remotely been around the way, or knows anything about being around the way, the worst way to escalate a beef is to get a woman involved of your enemy. It's just going to get worse from there. Women, children, you usually leave them out of beef. But Drake, dumbass, because he showed that he's never been from around the way. He never grew up around people like us. He's never grew around the culture, because he's clearly culturally tone deaf in many different ways, not just dealing with women or hood politics, which is another thing we're going to get to, but like, with the cultural awareness being not a colleague, he's a fucking colonizer, because he is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not holding back, by the way, y'all. So
but I mean, it's a given. See, he was protected for so long.
Absolutely.
From a lot of bullets.
Absolutely.
When you bring up the Meek Mill beef and all those other little beefs that he was involved in, I think he actually needed those beefs to keep him away from Kendrick Lamar.
Facts.
2015, the Meek Mill beef happens. 2013, as the momentum was building, so other things got in the way. But at the end of the day, if him and Kendrick Lamar were to go toe to toe in the beginning, I think it would have been a different story. We're not saying that Drake still doesn't have the machine behind him and all this and that, but Kendrick Lamar's shots are impact blows.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the thing. And Dot has been baiting this dude strategically for years. He's just been waiting, and this is certain niggas you gotta leave alone, dog. You just gotta leave certain dudes alone. And here's the thing. This is why I said at the beginning of this conversation, this truly was a battle between humility and hubris. Kendrick being the one who has humility, Drake being the one who has an overwhelming amount of hubris, because he let his success, his monetary accolades get to his head, thinking that he was literally untouchable just because he has a relationship with Lucien Grange, and that he has the backing of the head of UMG, that he's untouchable. Like, he can't get touched from a lyrical standpoint. You know what I mean? Like, so like to rewind back to. Oh my God, yo, it's crazy though, because like, you know, like looping back to the whole Common situation, right? It was Serena that was the focal point of both men, why they went to bat. And here's the thing, Common kind of got after his ass, right? Because after Common dropped his response to the Stay Scheming shit, we ain't hear nothing from Drake. He does that with certain people. He literally will avoid the smoke with certain cats. Some people will say the same thing with Joe. Joe Budden sent him a whole 6-pack EP full of disses, murdering dude, and Drake ain't respond because he felt like he was bigger than that. And I get it from a musical status standpoint. Joe is another person that, from a musical standpoint, Drake was punching down. He didn't need to respond. Meek Mill punching down, Common punching down, all for different reasons, right?
Can I ask you this, C? When it comes to Joe Budden, wouldn't that be kind of biting the hand that feeds you a little bit?
In a way, because Drake,
Slaughterhouse.
Yes, and here's Drake. Drake is Shang Tsung. A lot of his stans don't want to admit it, but he's Shang Tsung. He will literally copy the style of anyone that he's heavily influenced by. Before it was for real. Before it was him copying Fonte from Little Brother, because he was really heavily inspired by him. Then it was Joe Budden, because Joe was one of the pioneers of bringing in like emo rap and really being able to really mix the bars with like really touching on the nerve of human emotion in a way that other MCs just didn't do. And Drake really got into that lane. That's why I say like one of the earliest, like Drake coming out was way better than he is now, because he was at least more dedicated to the craft. But looking back, you see all these leaks now, you know, him getting verses by written by some underground MCs like Nicholas F. and his early stuff. You know what I mean? This guy is poser.
He's got a house of genius writers and artists under him. He's got the capital to be able to keep him under the label and undercover. And lack of better words.
To your point about a measly artist like me who doesn't have millions of followers, I'm an artist still. I've written.
Respect on that first and foremost.
Hey, you gotta put some respect on the name at the end of the day, right? Like I've written, recorded, produced my own stuff, mixed and mastered my own. I know what it takes to build bodies of work, right?
No, hold on. You want me to do you want me to announce it? Or did you want to just be that?
Hey, feel free, bro.
Do you want me to announce it though? See, she's being modest. An engineer, a jack of all trades, a writer, an artist, A&R, producer, can do anything when it comes to the musical genre. And what people are not going to see is he didn't go to school for this. This is a child prodigy. This is somebody who, when I was in middle school, I'll be going into his house and he's breaking down the computer to be able to get things right, or getting the instruments right to go, to some location with his brother Andrew and get things together. He's been seeing music and hearing music without music playing since he was a child.
Yes.
This is something that's in his blood and something that he was born with. Somebody was listening to music. Like, they must have put the music right there to his mom, because that's what he embodies. So yeah, I could keep going though, but yeah. Don't be brief with it, see, because you certified to be talking about what you're talking about.
Thank you.
You said measly. That was like a gut punch to me, because I know what it's about. Like nobody was there to see all that stuff. They see the sports part. Nobody was there to see your other talents. I mean, some people, but not all. Right. The public, the fans is what I'm talking about. Right. They don't get a chance to see the inside of what really goes on in that type of mind, and what it takes to kind of be successful in that lane independently, without nobody really over you. C's making his own things. He's mastering his own shit.
Wow. That means a lot. And guys, I mean, me and Jay talk about this off mic all the time, and every time we get to that conversation, it's always amazing to just hear that stuff. Like, I'm so appreciative that, because it can be hard when you keep your head down and you're working and you don't really hear anybody. Nobody's really, constantly patting you on the back. It makes you work hard. So to hear it, I thank you, brother. Seriously. But speaking on that, like, the point that I'm getting to here in a long-winded way is that Drake has, as you so poignantly pointed out, he has a machine behind him, so he can put out a mid-ass album every year, right, and not have to worry about digging deep, to create, to bring something out from the soul and put it on wax and put it and craft that work from the beginning to the end to seeing the final product. This is what Kendrick does. This is one of the reasons why, as an artist, I just relate to him, not only because we live in the same country, right? Like, and we are both intimately familiar with the culture of hip hop. We've been introduced to it. We don't colonize it. We really live in it, and we really embody it in many a different way and appreciate it at the very least. We appreciate it, and we don't use it as a commodifying force or as cosplay as on Aubrey Drake Graham does, right? So I say all that to say, I know what it takes to make a project. When you see Kendrick with all this meticulous focus and application of creativity, every project embodies a different angle of something, but it's all well fleshed out and thought out. And sometimes it'll take a couple of years. He'll go quiet. You know, Kendrick, for those of you who are fans of K-Dot, that man will go quiet for a couple of years. You won't hear a peep from him. But all that time he's creating. I get that. Meanwhile, Aubrey, he's all up in our face nonstop. And as an artist, I just don't, that's not possible to be at that level of success, be that busy, have that crazy of a schedule, and be able to just drop music all the time. Nobody's a machine unless you have a machine behind you, as you pointed out, Jay. And that comes it rears its ugly head with the Mob Ties track, which I want to get into later, written by Vori and not by Drake, which is supposed to be the response to Drake getting fucking eviscerated by Pusha T. Kid getting eviscerated by him. Man went on the shop, if I go on a mini tirade for a second, man went on the shop with LeBron talking about, yeah, you know, I wrote this record and that record. I'm not giving Pusha T a platform. Yeah, I wrote Mob Ties. And then he sat there with this little smug look like, yeah, I wrote that shit. Only for it to come out that this cat from, I don't know where he's from. Shout out to Vori. I don't know where you from, bro, but you slid on your version of Mob Ties. The man Drake copied it almost word for word, ad-lib for ad-lib, tone for tone, melody for melody. It's disgusting as an artist who writes his own stuff. I can't fathom that. And then there's a lot of people in the fan base and in the fandom who are like, oh, it's cool. He's a pop star. Great. Don't claim that you the best then. Don't claim that you part of the big three. Because J. Cole writes his own shit. Kendrick writes his own shit. What was that in here? Sorry.
It's just Big Me.
Yeah, it's just Big Me. Shout out to K-Dot. Like, you cannot claim the top spot when you have 20 niggas behind you writing, bro. You can't do that. You can't. I'm sorry. You are disqualified. I don't give a damn what the stands say. Here's what I say about stands. Stands are some of the dumbest people on the internet. They severely lack critical thinking. They severely lack objectivity, and they are of a hive mind species. They do not think critically. So naturally, they're gonna be attracted to the vapidity, if you will, of a Drake Graham who doesn't really dig deep. Kendrick will dig deep from his soul, and it will show. Whereas Drake is just like surface level. This is why I say Kendrick, a novel, Drake, a picture book. Like, it's different. Good Kid, Mad City was literally a movie for the mind, right? To Pimp a Butterfly was like a very dense and extended poem of sorts, almost like a novel, right? Damn was like this incredible, like super intense, suspenseful, and very popularized TV show. And Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers was this like incredible play. All these things were mediums, creative mediums for the mind's eye that you could literally close your eyes and envision. These were all well-crafted bodies of work, stories, narratives that really spoke to the human experience from where he's from, and the stuff that he's had to deal with, and the trauma that he's had to process, and all the things that he's gone through that makes him so relatable. Drake talks about the same shit over and over and over again. And it's like, when are you gonna grow? And this is the problem that a lot of people have with him. This is the problem that a lot of people have with him. You started off at a certain point, and then you stop growing, and then you stay here. That's why everybody is criticizing you for all the albums that you come out with, because they're mid. They're mid. You don't dig deep. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. I know we're just doing like a whole random dissertation, but I like free form like this, guys. So forget, we might just have to continue this series into different episodes, break this down into 4 or 5 episodes, whatever have you. But there's a lot of cultural importance in this battle, which is why it cannot be understated at all. There's a lot of cultural. Drake is literally, the cover art of the story I added on, right?
Yep.
That's him. That is him. Blackface minstrel show, pretending.
For some people, is wondering why it took so long, but it's really simple. Like we touched on this at the beginning. When you have the machine behind you, you have protection.
Yes.
Kendrick Lamar is really not giving a fuck about that protection.
No.
He knows he has the people's ears.
Yes, and that y'all is incredibly important. That the point that Jay brought up. This is why I said at the beginning of this discussion, it's culture versus corporation. Because a lot of the time, the corporations really mooch and leech off of the cultural significance and cachet of what the people dictate. And then they try to...
It couldn't have happened 20 years ago, see?
No, because it wasn't as commodified as it is right now. And it wouldn't... The ease of the internet is the great equalizer for both good and bad.
The people win.
Right.
When it comes to that level.
Right. But again, exactly. The point is that even with the multi-million-dollar machine behind a figurehead, someone who is seen as a infiltrator of culture, the most successful and one of the most widespread musical genres in the world, if the people say, man, get this nigga the fuck out of here, it's time. Money can save you. And Kendrick was nothing more, and I'm not trying to reduce his role, but if you really think about it, I think Kendrick understands too that this is bigger than him.
Yeah.
This is why he said, it ain't just me, I'm what the culture feeling. He understands it's bigger than him. He's just the talking head. He's the spearhead to break through the armor, to really he's pressing the reset button on culture, and everybody overlooking the fact of, oh, culture this, culture that. But it really is. This is coming from. I don't even want to get into it, because it's too much, man. The innovators of too many things. The innovators and creators and the trendsetters of too many things. We are. So when corporations see someone like Drake, they see a perfect hybrid, because he is black. No one is questioning his genetic blackness, right? And this is what a lot of people misconstrue about this battle too, because they misconstrue Kendrick's lyrics for saying, when he says, how many black features do you feel you black enough, right? Which is like a double entendre, because it's like you go from like this goober ass nigga to like getting the I don't even know what those things are called. Forgive me. Correct me in the comment section, guys, with the things in his hair and copying Smino style. Shout out to Smino. Copying his style, getting the braid. What is it? The braids? You know what I'm saying? Like copying the braids. You know what I'm saying? Like, getting with all the niggas. Like Rick Ross said, a lot of his trolling with BBL Drizzy. He wanted to hang with the niggas. You know what I'm saying? Like all that. He was appropriating and these corporations looked at him and said, perfect. Nobody can, because they thought in their boardrooms, I'm not saying this definitively, I'm just going off of common sense and a little bit of deduction and kind of looking at the landscape and understanding a little bit about how things work in the music corporate world, in the music business world. Looking at Drake as the perfect hybrid, right? Nothing to do with the fact that he's Jewish. I don't think that's a problem. I don't care about that. But they're looking at him, this biracial kid, and they're seeing that as this is the perfect guy because, you go with the 1/8 rule. where if you're 1/8 black, you're considered fully black. Drake is half black, so he's black. So they're thinking, light skinned guy, perfect. Let's get him in there. He's going to be able to appeal to a mass audience. Again, this isn't about really colorism either. This is just about, I'm talking about from the corporation standpoint. They're using this guy as somebody who is someone who can execute their agenda on a larger scale. And there's even other things. Sorry, viewers, this episode is kind of all over the place, but I don't care. They used him as a spearhead for things like AI, hence the tailor-made freestyle, why it had such blowback.
That's crazy.
Fam, the emergence of AI, I'm for it and against it in many different ways, but I'm against it in the way that there's a lot of people that didn't mind how Drake did that. Cool, I respect your opinion, right? I have a problem with it because the nigga Tupac is dead, and what he stood for, he would not stand for that. Talking to Kendrick like that, a cat from Compton, a cat from the town. You know what I'm saying? He would not go for that. For someone whose artistry so closely relates to Pac. You know what I'm saying? Using AI to troll Kendrick. Clever on the surface, right? I'll give Drake his credit. It's clever. It's funny if you think about it solely from a troll's perspective. But when you think about it from a cultural perspective, that is horrible. And then that's why the Tupac estate was like, nah, nigga, take that shit down. Or we gonna sue your ass.
Yeah. And
he took it down. And then, you know, we got to get to the music though. Yeah, man, I wanted to get to, we can get to everything after, but I wanted to get to the crux of the beef, right? Which, as you said, when it culminated in this full-out war, it started with first-person shooter, right?
Well, no, it goes, well, yeah, but it goes back to what you said, 2013.
Yes. And kind of piggybacking off of what you said earlier, Kendrick was like, wait. So y'all, Cole was saying, hey, it's big three. It's me, Drake, and K-Dot. But Drake was like, nah, it's just me and Cole. And Kendrick said, oh, okay.
That was a good move by Cole.
Yeah. And Kendrick said, oh, okay. What the fuck the big three? Nigga, it's just big me. Nigga, what? Yo, like that? That's what first person shooter was the fuse.
Yeah.
Like that was the explosion.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's the other thing. After like that drop, there's another observation that I started making, right? No disrespect to all of my Caucasian friends. Okay? But Drake really showed his ass and how he reacted to things. Drake is kind of like a white woman.
He was hurt.
And he reacted that way in Instagram post. Ironic that he told Meek, you know, the trigger fingers turn to Twitter fingers. This nigga had Instagram fingers the whole time. Instagram caption this, Instagram post that, yada, 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 yada. All that shit talking. And then, yeah, he went on wax too. But the same stuff that he accused other cats of doing, he did in this battle, right? And again, the hubris of Drake, he didn't realize all the other cats that he battled with, he was punching down. With Kendrick, he's punching directly across. You're dealing with someone who sells records and outsold your albums from going up against Drake a couple of times. Damn outsold whatever album Drake came out with at the time. Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers tour outsold Drake's Aubrey and the Three Amigos tour. Excuse me, not Mr. Morale. There was some other tour that, correct me in the comment section, guys. First person shooter was the explosion. And then what I was saying before was after first person shooter, we got a wave of Instagram posts, Karen-like reactions from one Aubrey Drake Graham. And especially because he was on tour with Drake, with J. Cole. It was all a Blur tour. And there was a couple instances, or one instance in particular, where after the Like That verse came out, where Kendrick shook the fucking room, basically. Drake went on stage afterward and he said something to the effect of, and guys, correct me in the comment section, I'm just paraphrasing, but he says, my back is straight, I'm 10 toes down, and there ain't a nigga in the world that could fuck with me on any level at any time. And then he said, to make it sound like it was more for the people, he said, this is how I want all of you guys to feel leaving this building tonight. This is what he said at the end of the show, because he heard the verse from Like That from Kendrick. And then there was another instance before he put out Push-Ups where he was at another show. He was doing a show with Nicki Minaj, and I think he said something to the effect of, all right, as he was getting off stage, he's like, all right, thank y'all for coming out. Y'all know what I got to do. Referring to him preparing for the battle for Kendrick. And I find those instances very funny because when other people heard them, a lot of the sentiment in the different think spaces were, oh, Drake, yeah, he's getting ready, he's war ready, da 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 da. I heard something very different. I heard someone who wasn't that confident going up against someone like Kendrick. I heard him putting on a front. I heard someone who was trying to look tough for his fan base, look like he's unbothered and unaffected and that he's ready for this competition from his fan base. I didn't see someone...
He lost this one, dog.
Facts. And it showed. It really reared its ugly head. Because now we're going to go into Push-Ups / Tailor-Made, right? So there was some controversy surrounding Push-Ups and when it came out. Shout out to this independent artist out in California. His name is Curtis King. He does great work on his YouTube channel. He's also a dope artist. He's fully like independent. He doesn't rely on streams at all. His music goes straight to his Bandcamp, his website. He's been very successful with it. Shout out to Curtis King. He's very inspirational. He's in our age bracket too. So like, and he's doing the hip hop. He's killing it. He's doing a great job, man. Shout out to Curtis King. If you all get a chance, y'all check him out. But he brought up a point where when Push-Ups came out, he said this sounded really robotic. And it sounded like this was AI generated. And what he was essentially alluding to was that there was a lack of confidence in the OVO camp going up against a giant, the 5'5" giant in K-Dot. So what they did was they went and they got someone to write most of the raps, use AI to record. So they used the person recorded his vocals regular, right? But they did it in the cadence and the breath control as close to Drake's style as possible. Excuse me. And then they ran it through AI and used Drake's voice over what was recorded. And then they presented it to Drake. I don't know how true this is. I took this with a grain of salt. But there is a discrepancy between the unedited version of Push-Ups and the final version. And what this person assumed was not Curtis King, but this other person who I can't remember their name on the YouTube channel. But Curtis King was alluding to this without having all of the. Well, he had some evidence. He put the tracks side by side, the final version versus the AI version, and he was like, "This sounds very robotic versus this one that sounds very polished and mixed." And as an artist, to shoot Drake some bail, a lot of times when I record records, especially nowadays, I have a whole like unedited rough version, fully not mixed down at all. It sounds crazy if you compare it to the final version that's mixed and mastered fully. I have a rough version for me to listen to familiarize myself with the record more that I wrote to get myself more familiar with the lyrics that I wrote, the cadence, the breath control, how I sing a lyric, how I rap a lyric. It don't matter. Whatever it is, I familiarize myself because it's one thing to write a record and it's another thing to know the record, right? When you know the record intuitively, you're able to put that little extra sauce on it because you're more intimately familiar with the record. So to shoot Drake's bail, he could have written it and just put out a rough version so that he can listen to it. And then maybe it got leaked by someone in his camp, probably the mole that Kendrick knows, right? And but then he heard the reception of the record and was like, okay, I'm definitely putting this out now. So at first, what I'm saying is with Push-Ups, I heard someone prior to him putting that out, and it's corroborated by this pseudo AI track that came out before he put out the final track, that this wasn't a guy who was that confident. He was more confident in trolling than he was confident going up against Kendrick as an MC head to head. But when he heard the reception of Push-Ups, the production was great. It was a great beat, and flow wise, Drake was kind of sliding on it. I don't like this current iteration of Drake. Like I said before, my favorite iteration of Drake was from 2009 to 2015. After that, but Drake was sliding on this, right? There were some questionable lines, right? Like, you know, your pants might you getting so much splits, your pants might rip. Guys, correct me in the comment section. I don't remember exactly what he said verbatim, but the pants might rip was like, ah. And then the chip a nail line was like, no.
Oh, see,
yeah.
Lost.
But then when he
didn't even have the same confidence he had in back to back, like it wasn't the same guy.
It wasn't, and it showed the further this battle went along, because he was sitting there talking about, I have the red button, I have the red button, I have the red button. So he had Family Matters, and this is the fun. This is what I call Kendrick is no longer Kung Fu Kenny. He is Sun Tzu Kenny, because he had a mole in that camp, and he knew exactly what was going to happen, when it was going to happen, how it was going to happen, what was going to be said. That nigga is diabolical. You know? Like there's no other way.
Look at Meet the Grams. See, we didn't really speak on that too much. Meet the Grams, where he's kind of clowning because he puts it in A minor chord. Like it's you know what I'm saying? Like at least that's what they say. If you really listen into kind of how they made that track. But I go back to Euphoria, where he was more personal and basically getting it off his chest. Tell him why you mad, Kendrick. K-Dot got off. And there was no, what could Drake do? Like he beat him down. See, it wasn't like, yeah, let's go back and forth. He beat him down.
Dog, here's the thing. To me, all right, so Push-Ups was dope beat wise. Some of the lyrics were questionable. Drake did have a dope rebuttal, because you know Kendrick and him had this thing with Prince and Michael Jackson, and using themselves metaphorically as the rap equivalents of those two artists. And if anybody
Kendrick said he's Prince, and he outlived Mike Jack.
Exactly. And then Drake came back at Push-Ups with "What's a prince to a king? He a son, nigga." That was hard. That was hard as shit. That was my favorite.
But people respect K-Dot too much for it to have the impact it should have. See,
100%.
Good or bad, I'm not even going to debate that one. But I hear you loud and clear. Like, yes, it was nice. He was sliding on that. But I feel like as far as, like, I don't think Meek Mill had everybody. Not everybody bought into that. No. So, and then a lot of the other people that he went through, like you said, he was punching down. But I didn't even see the same confidence, even though he's going to, he's going up against K-Dot, he's going up against Kendrick. At the same time, why not give the all-out effort? Oh, you in a different headspace, you somewhere else. Well, they caught you slipping.
Facts. And then, so we kind of already touched on TaylorMade and the TaylorMade freestyle, and the one line that stood out on that was the nah, nigga, you following through, right? So it was all, this is the thing. This was like fake confidence. And this is, again, Drake probably wasn't confident in his own ability. Now, I don't know this nigga.
No, when you say you don't know, see, is some of that I don't know, it's not really Drake actually doing this. How much of this can be contributed to Drake's writers saying you deserve this and not really giving them hot fire? Like, they're really not giving them, but they telling them, nah, this is it. So so how much of that plays into it as an artist? Like how he is.
True. And because if correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like what you're basically alluding to is he has too many blood clot yes men around him that are kind of just like, yeah, this is great. Yeah, go ahead with this. You know what I'm saying? And not really keeping it real with him. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's half of the element. But the other element is he does have some dope ass artists and writers in there working for him that maybe are starting to kind of get disgruntled or tired of it.
Oh, beautiful set.
Or infiltrated by somebody else. Like You know what I'm saying? Like,
beautiful segue, because I peeped this from years ago, right? OVO Sound as a label is not a label that you want to go to as an artist if you want to reach your own level of success. Ask The Weeknd, ask Party Next Door, ask Roy Woods, ask freaking Popcorn, ask all these other people who were under the label, and Party only found success because he is a good writer and he was able to branch out and write records for Rihanna and all these other artists and stuff like that. So he's eating well. A lot of his records went to Drake too, right? But then you look at someone like The Weeknd, who, listen, everybody kind of unanimously considers Drake's best record that came out of his whole catalog was Take Care. It's the closest that he had to a classic, right? And I'm not going to shoot him any bail on that. Drake does not have classics to me. Kendrick has 4. And if you understand how difficult that is to do, that is incredibly difficult. And I can understand people saying Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers not being as strong of a record, because I get it. It's different. It hits different than the other ones. I totally understand that. But when you listen to it, you give it time to let it grow on you, and you are a fan of Kendrick's work, that is an incredible body of work. So to me, he has 4. How many albums did he come out with? Lil Kid, Mad City, To Pimp a Butterfly, Damn. Yeah, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. 4 for 4. That is incredibly difficult to do, right? So anyway, my point is, Take Care was considered Drake's best work, near his pinnacle. But what people don't want to admit, and there's a lot of people that do admit this, half of that album was The Weeknd's, bro. That was music from The Weeknd's project.
Yep.
And then, and this is my point with The Weeknd. He was affiliated with Drake. Drake gave him a shot, but the shot that he gave him was like, I'm doing you this favor, now you owe me your life, kind of thing, right? But The Weeknd was smart enough to say, I know you want me to sign with OVO, but low key, I kind of see what's going on there with all those guys, and I want to do my own thing over here. So he went to Republic Records, started XO Records, his imprint, and you see what he's doing. You see what he's one of the biggest artists in the world. He made the smartest move ever, because if he went to the OVO sweatshop, he'd still be there. And so this is all kind of corroborating your point. Like, these guys in OVO's camp disgruntled, and they probably sitting there saying like, yeah, just take that shit, man. Let me write this half-ass shit. Good.
Exactly.
It's
not coming out like it used to. See,
it's not, and it showed the longer this battle went on, because Drake thought, right, he had supreme pseudo confidence, keyword pseudo confidence, after he dropped Push-Ups and TaylorMade. Kendrick went radio silent for 17 days, and then the confidence just came bubbling over the top from OVO, because they ain't hear nothing from Kendrick, right? Pseudo confidence, and I'm gonna get to why. Pseudo confidence, and Drake telling him drop the record. I got a red button. And then he has his mouthpieces in the stream platforms in the stream world with academics and Rory and Maul and all those guys. Especially Maul went out sad in that battle, yo. I'm sorry. I'm gonna call it like it is. He went out on some real sucker shit, yo. And if he has a problem with it, sorry, bro. Don't be mad at me for calling out the dumb shit that you were doing for this man, glazing this man the way that you were. You know what I mean? That was pitiful, right? But anyway, he has his mouthpieces out there, right? And they're talking about this red button, right? Then he drops the red button, which is Family Matters. Okay? And there are some... Wait, I'm sorry. I'm jumping ahead. Sorry, guys. I'm jumping ahead. So after like that, Push-Ups TaylorMade, 17-day blank period, 17-day silence. Kendrick went dark for 17 days. The overconfidence was brewing with Drake. And then 17 days passed after Drake saying drop, dropping all these memes and all this shit on Instagram. Kendrick comes with Euphoria, which is perhaps the most layered diss track in the catalog of disses, right? And so
it was personal.
it was personal in a way where it wasn't bringing up like family members like how Meet the Grams was. Meet the Grams was like Murder One. That was like a nigga peeling a nigga nerve ending by nerve ending through his skin slowly and enjoying each and every peeling. That was vicious. That was bloody murder with Meet the Grams. But Euphoria was like, because at the end of Taylor Made Freestyle, y'all remember Drake was talking that shit, saying, "Yo, you better come with some super duper quintuple entendres." Kendrick said, "Okay, bet." And people are still deciphering Euphoria to today, months after, finding new lines. Kendrick showed how meticulous he was, from the cover art to the definition to the word to the song title. The fact that Euphoria was produced by Drake, and what was Euphoria about? Hypersexualized, overly sexualized what? Teenagers, which is a huge Achilles heel for Mr. Aubrey Graham, which we're going to talk about too. Millie Bobby Brown. 13-year-old girl on stage talking about
Stranger Things.
How old are you? And then proceeding to find out how old she is, and then calling her the number 17 and saying she thick and feeling and talking about it felt good that her breast was on his chest and all that. This nigga was what, 20?
He said that on stage, recorded.
On stage, and people are defending, and people are like, Kendrick is calling him a PDF file and all this stuff, and okay, maybe not. He might not be a PDF file, but he on some groomer shit. Millie Bobby Brown talking about, he texting a 14-year-old girl and Millie Bobby Brown at the time saying, "I miss you." Nigga, you 30-something. You're not here. You're not our cousin.
We have to talk about,
nigga. What are we talking about here? This is some straight predator shit, bro. But everybody his fans want to glaze over it. Maul. They want to glaze over that shit, right? Pitiful, right? Anyway, Kendrick drops Euphoria. And we could spend 15 episodes talking about the breakdown of that. But that's when Drake knew that he fucked up. Right there. Because Kendrick got personal without getting personal on Euphoria. And if you know, you know, right? And then he back-to-back Drake with 616 in LA, which is perhaps one of my I love all of the diss tracks from Kendrick. But for some reason, 616 in LA was beautiful to me because it was Kendrick saying, "God, I'm about to kill this nigga, right? Forgive me, please. But I'm gonna kill him." That's what's happening. And then where he started floating for me was when he says, "I live in circadian rhythms of a shooting star." And with the production, there was an overlying synth that was like twirling on top of the lyrics that like sent me into like dimension 10 when Kendrick was rapping on that, and that made me so happy, right?
Have you ever thought OVO was working for me?
Bro,
he must be a terrible person.
Dog, he was sowing seeds of doubt in the camp. And
just like, so you caught that.
Yes.
Everyone inside your team is whispering that you deserve it.
Yes.
Even if they're not, like, even if he didn't know that, he knows that. And like you said, if it's planting the seed, because it's like, man, you hear all these disses come, like, you know what's going on.
Yes.
It's that time.
Exactly. And what does that attribute to it? This is 48 Laws of Power. Again, this is The Art of War by Sun Tzu. This is why I keep calling him Sun Tzu Kenny. You heard it here first. I'm the one who dubbed this nigga Sun Tzu Kenny because he's sowing seeds of doubt in the enemy. Yeah. Right? Art of War. He really applied those principles, man. And so 616 in LA was beautiful because even though Euphoria was heavy and heavy hitting, it was a hard jab. 616 in LA was a light jab to get a reaction, to see how you gonna move. It was all baked. Cause then Drake goes, "All right, boom, I'm pressing the red button." Rory and Maul talking about, Maul putting up a post on his IG or Twitter with the nuclear sign. I be peeping these shits, right? And and I'm like, okay, so that shows that they're telegraphing what Drake's about to do. Drake drops Family Matters, and It's the supposed red button, which is perhaps one of the most poorly, or the second most poorly aged song in the beef, right? Now I'm gonna go over some lines that I thought were absolutely atrocious when I first heard them, and they aged like spoiled milk in the hot summer sun after everything was said and done. So one of the lines that really stood out to me, which stood out to everybody else, was rapping like you're trying to free the slaves. I mean, you couldn't get more tone deaf than that, which corroborates everything that Kendrick was saying about how tone deaf you are, and how much you're a culture vulture, and how much you're not a fucking colleague, you're a fucking colonizer. Like, you don't get it. And he continuously showed throughout this exchange that he does not get it. Another line that was absolutely awful to me, and this is one I want to expound on a little bit. You know who really bang and set my nigga YG? You know who really bang and set my nigga Chuck T? You know who even bang and set my nigga CB? I had to shake my head so hard because, like, we not from Cali, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to be from Cali to know that their hood politics is different. And if you don't know anything about, the only thing you should be speaking about Cali's hood politics is that you don't know shit about it, unless you live that. I don't know nothing about the hood politics, but I know some common sense things. Like, you don't be saying shit like who banged this and who that or whatever, unless you legitimately know these guys and you are truly affiliated with them, and you did some work with them in the street on some. You don't sort of.
Yeah, because outside of that, it's really just them rappers getting extorted because they're not out there banging.
Thank you.
Nobody wants to really call it like that. Some people do, but that's really what it is, because these rappers is not gangsters. Some. We know who they are, though. We know who most of them are.
Exactly. And it's a very short list. But you, Drake, are from Forest Hills, Toronto, which is the most Jewish of Jewish neighborhoods. It's not a problem. But you know nothing about the sets, the sections, the hood politics in Southern Los Angeles. You don't. I don't know. So I'm not going to sit there and proclaim that I do. But that's the difference between us and you, Drake. We don't know these things in particular. So for us to speak on it, dog, I was watching a clip from a stream of Kai Cenat. He heard Not Like Us or something, or one of the records, and he started throwing up signs, right? And immediately after, he was like, guys, I'm sorry, I don't bang, I'm sorry, I was just in the moment, da 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 da. You have to say that because dudes will come and see you, right? So there's that Drake is completely tone deaf and unaware about, right? And then the other thing is, what in the fuck would make you think that by you saying, you know who really bang a set, my nigga YG, number one, you don't know about set tripping and niggas in different sections and banging and stuff like that. YG is from Compton. YG knows the same people that Kendrick knows. And if you talking about it,
yeah, there's a reason you only hear from YG every now and then.
Dog.
Because he got 1 foot in and 1 foot out.
Thank you. This man is really about that life. And you talk, just because you collaborated with him on a record, you think you have the cultural cachet to sit there and say, and the street credentials to say, oh, you know, really bang a set YG, in an attempt to disparage and shit on a dude who's really from that element in Kendrick Lamar, who Kendrick's people know the same people that YG know, and that's one of the reasons why they cool. That's why you saw YG at the pop out, blood walking and all that, and coming out and saying during his set with DJ Mustard, sometimes you gotta pop out and show niggas. That's why he said on his song Weird, mention my name, you gonna have me risking my game. Don't mention my name when it comes to drama. He said that it wasn't about Drake, but we know it was about Drake. But that's what you're supposed to say when you in that life. You're not supposed to speak on that like that when people ask you, oh, so was it about this, is that, and the third? Because God forbid something happened, right? Who are they gonna look at? Oh, YG said, yeah, I said that about Drake. Da 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 da. You know, you feel me? Like, these are the things that Drake is utterly unaware of, and it shows that he ain't grow up around people who are even remotely close to the street or anything like that until he got money where he can pay to look street. And this is my problem with him, because when he came out, he wasn't like this. Catching bodies, gun toting, holding the stick, all that dumb shit. You are not like that, dog. Inauthentic. That shit burns me up, yo. And that's why I'm really riding with Kendrick on that, because it's like, and this, yo, your mentor and Lil Wayne said this to you. Keep it Canadian. Keep it Canadian. Don't talk about the shit that I talk about. This is on record of Wayne saying this. And you went and did all the things he told you not to do. Now look what happened to you. You got smacked as a result. So speaking on Family Matters, and I'm sorry I went on such a tirade, but that shit showed true lack of awareness. And that's exactly why, one of the biggest reasons why he lost that battle. I don't know. What's your take? I'm sorry, man. I went on a whole tirade, bro.
Well, we said our pieces as we kind of broke down the timeline of things and the interactions and the back and forth as far as the diss tracks. But it culminates down to the fact that Drake lost the beef, and he knows he lost the beef. And it, for the culture, it means a lot, because like I said, Drake's been sitting on the throne for as long as he's been out. But it's not like there hasn't been other artists that have been more lyrical, that have been had their own thrones independently outright, right. But maybe not made as much money as Drake. Right. So they needed somebody to kind of like, with the the cachet, yes, the right person to kind of come at that throne, because everybody else has tried and kind of failed. And right. It's not to say that Drake was that much better of an artist than they were. It's just that they weren't worthy opponents. True.
And this is, again, this speaks to my point as to why Drake got overcome. Now it's funny because he was punching down with one Terrence Thornton, aka Pusha Ton, aka Pusha T, and he got eviscerated for it. And Pusha T bodied him with one track, and there was a lot of what they call T, right, in it, but there was a lot of like breaking this man's soul down to the molecule as well. And that was like a lightning in a bottle type of moment. But see, this is the thing. Drake does not have a good track record going up against super lyrical MCs. He either flat out ignores them or he gets bodied by them, evidenced by ignoring cats like Joe Budden or ignoring the response from Common because he felt like he was too good. But Common, you gotta understand, a lot of the younger cats don't understand. Common went at Cube when Cube was Ice Cube.
That was real. That was real though.
What?
That was real.
That was really real. And y'all gotta remember, Common is not some sucker. He's from Chicago. And if y'all know anything about Chicago ain't easy. All right. So
before I forget, see, we didn't bring up. A matter of fact, you might have brought it up, and I'm not sure. But extension is another artist, rest in peace, that passed away. That we don't have to fully get into it, but you know, Drake's got some history with that artist too. There's a background of that young man who passed away, his style being taken by Drake.
Yes.
Blatantly. Like, get down. Like, I know everybody, the subscribers, everybody watching, you can see, it's been on YouTube, you can see it.
Yes.
It's not I'm breaking a secret down, but we're going over the facts, and I didn't want to leave him out. So rest in peace to him and his family. But another artist that he kind of just, and it goes by it's by the wayside, like as time moves forward. Right. But I think we can continue talking about it, and we can talk about it from a lot of different segments of the breakdown of the beef. But when it comes down to it, is Drake really writing is Drake really the artist that he is pushing the image of him being?
No.
Like, is he really who he's trying to depict himself to be out there? And how much help does he have Where as opposed to, and you see what happens when you go against somebody that's built themselves up to that point.
Yes.
Like it's not a game.
No, it's not. And that excellent point. Because when you run out of people to feed you ideas, what do you really have? You only have yours, and you haven't been flexing that muscle of yours all that much. So whatever comes out culminates in something shit like The Heart Part 6. Now, we skipped over Meet the Grams. I mean, we kind of touched on it a little bit. Everybody who knows of this beef knows Meet the Grams was surgical slaughter, right? And then Kendrick back-to-backed him again with Not Like Us, with the AMI. Performing that at the pop-out was glorious 6 times technically. But to your point about cats like XXXTentacion and all these other gentlemen, there is a 17-minute video out on the internet that goes over all of the music that Drake has heavily interpolated or straight up bit, right? It ain't just limited to Quentin Miller on some of the records from If You're Reading This, It's Too Late, or Vori on Mob Ties, right? But his features, like his feature with YG, he basically copied Rappin' Forte's verse almost word for word, so much so to the point that he had to pay that man $100,000 off rip.
Keep going, Steve. Keep going.
Damn, like,
because he took them Chicago drill rappers too.
Yes, you listening to what
Young Boys.
All them cats took their flows and all that stuff, and he really is Shang Tsung. It cannot be understated, bro. It cannot be understated, and his fans are never going to. They're not going to admit it because they're not objective enough thinkers to think outside of their fandom for Drake, right?
Well, he crossed over. Like you said, he has the crossover appeal. The marketing geniuses put him behind the machine or put him in front of the machine and worked in the background. But at the same time, see, look at it. Like, when it comes to our culture, the essence of hip hop, the essence of this genre of music, we're kind of like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, we're the ones that's kind of like turning it around. And I don't think there's ever been a time like 2024 or these last couple of years where the people are kind of being like, no, this is kind of what we like. You know what I mean? Where it's more so of you're not so much controlled. Right. That cashola, that payola, it's not going around no more. Like, kids are listening to SoundCloud. There's some of their favorite rappers are people that we don't even know. If you're not into the underground scene, it's not necessarily the top 5 rappers that we talk about on the global sense, like Jay-Z, the Nas's, the Biggies, the Tupac. It's not that, or DMX. I can't forget my man X. Me and C call him Earl. No disrespect, neither. All respect.
All respect.
But at the same time, like, these kids are different now. It's not what you're saying, what you're putting out there. It doesn't actually sway them. They're listening to all different types of artists.
Exactly. So, and it works in Drake's favor. It's up until this point because, like, again, you can. For those of you who know what I'm talking about, with that 17-minute video of him literally just biting everyone else's style and using it for his own second or whatever have you, that's nasty work, right? And it really ties into Kendrick's point about you lied about religious views, you lied about your surgery, you lied about your accents and your actions, all the perjury, whatever he said and all that stuff. Why believe you? You never gave us nothing to believe in, and that ties into to your behavior with minors. It ties into your claiming that you didn't do these things, or you didn't do these things, or you did these things, or you did the reason why people are so more readily able to side with Kendrick is because Kendrick, from what he's portrayed, is someone who is more believable because he's not out there boldly lying about shit that we could just Google, right? You talking about on The Heart Part 6, which was absolute garbage, right? That you never look twice at no teenager, but in the song Nice for What, you talking about back in high school she was looking bad then, or you never looked at no Millie Bobby Browns when nobody mentioned that in the beef at all, or you're too famous to get caught look, I'm dealing with minors or whatever have you. Meanwhile, there's Epstein, there's R. Kelly, there's Bill Cosby, there's Weinstein, there's all these people. And then you brought up Epstein when Kendrick never said Epstein. He said Weinstein, which goes to show that you guilty about something, bro. And that also goes to show that on the Hard Part 6, that was actually you writing. And one of the reasons why I am 1000% convinced that this record on the Hard Part 6 was you actually rapping, Drake, and you writing is because at the end, you said, you know, it's nice to, you know, get the pen working again. Wait, so it wasn't working on push-ups?
Nah.
So it wasn't working on tailor-made? So it wasn't working on...
I got my team behind me, and they were failing me. All right, so y'all ain't gonna write me the shit. So all right, I'm gonna do it myself.
I'm gonna do it myself, and I'm gonna royally fuck it up like he did. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, I'm already losing.
You and then you sounded so defensive, and you said, "I don't want to rap. I don't want to do this anymore." Da 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 da. And then you had the unmitigated gall to say, "Come to me when you talk. Everything I say is facts." When again, you're lying about that. It's insane, bro. All this stuff can be looked up and fact checked. And like, you really gave us nothing to believe in. Like, there's a lot of stuff that we didn't touch on. And side note, 2-minute mark. So this is gonna cut out after 2 minutes. I don't know if you wanted to wrap up here and then, or if you wanted to continue. It's up to you. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Let me know.
We could wrap for tonight just because I do need to elevate my leg at some point.
Absolutely. So, and I'm gonna cut that out in post-production. But yeah, man, like Drake, you gave us nothing to believe in, dog. This is why Kendrick back-to-backed you once and then back-to-backed you again with Meet the Grams, which is a visceral evisceration of your character as a man, as a father, as a person, as a musician, as an artist, and then danced on your grave, blood walking, Hoover stomping, crip walking with all his homies on stage at the pop out on Not Like Us, which is a fucking bop and a half. Man, I was watching a highlight video of these streamers and their reactions to it. It's glorious. I mean, that song is just so catchy, and it's so funny that you got back to all the shit that you did to other people on records and battles got done to you, and it was a long time coming. It was a long time coming, but we have only a few seconds left. We will continue this conversation in another episode. I want to thank my homie, my brother, Jay Grizzle, for hopping on my show. My first episode of Midnight Music under my Midnight Arcade channel. I want to thank you guys for tuning into this discussion. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell icon to be notified for whenever I drop that new heat. You heard? Yes, sir. I am Lexx Black. It's my homie Jay Grizzle.
Sir.